Today's budget brew is going to take us all the way back to Kaldheim. Remember Kaldheim, the Norse plane? Yeah. Our commander is going to be turning damage to creatures to damage dealt to our opponent's face. So the wider we go with damage to their board, the more that's coming at their face. Toralf God of Fury is leading this deck and dealing out ridiculous damage like his Norse counterpart Thor. Toralf is a 4 mana, 2 generic, 2 red, 5/4 legendary creature god that has trample and reads, whenever a creature or a planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, Toralf deals damage equal to the excess to any target other than that permanent. Toralf also has a backside. Toralf's Hammer, a 2 mana, 1 red, 1 generic legendary artifact that has equip 2, 1 red and 1 generic. Equipped creature has pay 1 generic and 1 red, tap, unattach Toralf's Hammer. It deals 3 damage to any target. Return Toralf's Hammer to its owner's hand. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 as long as it's legendary. Not the Mjolnir of Legend, but could help us push through some last minute damage in a pinch. But again, for this deck, we're just going to focus on the front side. Let's go over the creatures helping our commander shine gloriously on the battlefield. Runaway Steamkin. Satyr Fire Dancer is going to turn damage directly to our opponents by a spell into damage dealt to target creature, which if it has excess, Toralf will turn around and pound our opponents again. Dualcaster Mage is a phenomenal card in the deck because casting one of our mass damage spells is good, but doubling it and turning it into more damage to the face can end games. Goblin Spymaster is going to make sure our opponents have creatures we can deal damage to. Gutter Snipe is just good with all the damage being thrown around. Relic Robber is giving our opponents things for us to deal damage to, as well as the things that we give them dealing damage to themselves. Life of the Party again gives us something to throw spells at, but also comes with the benefit of being goaded as long as it sticks around. Ill-Tempered Loner turns our board wiping damage into face damage for our opponents. Tectonic Giant can help us dig through the deck or deal damage. Volcano Hellion can deal huge damage by wagering our life total. Brash Taunter. Fire Servant doubles our red instant and sorcery damage. 13 damage is good, but 26 damage can end games. Hunted Dragon gives our opponents some honorable knights for us to fling damage at, as well as being a flying threat in the air. Kazul Tyrant of the Cliffs keeps our opponents from attacking us, as well as making creatures to make our spells like Chain Reaction bigger. Stuffy Doll. Chandra's Incinerator is a fantastic combo with Toralf, as long as our opponents have creatures. We can damage our opponents with Toralf, and the Incinerator will turn around dealing that damage to a creature, which should trigger Toralf later. With some doubling effects we will cover later and enough creatures,
I hope you bulletproof for this about to hurt.
The biggest chunk of this deck is instants and sorceries, because that's how we start our non-combat damage chains. For sorceries, we have Perforos' Intervention, a great piece of removal as well as dealing big damage. Sudden Demise gives us extra bonuses because it targets a color, so as long as it's not red, our opponents are going to be like 9 Inch Nails or Johnny Cash. Hurt.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Cathartic Reunion. Mizium Mortars overloaded will already hurt, but overloaded with a damage doubler, lights out. Roast. Wild Guess. Anger of the Gods damages indiscriminately, which is where our Stuffy Doll creatures come into play. Light Up the Stage. Meteor Swarm. 4 mana, deal 8 damage is just... But doubling it? Seize the Spoils. Sweltering Suns. Chain Reaction. Ignite the Future to help us dig through our deck, but if we cast it from the graveyard, we get those spells for free. Ironcrag Feat. Rousing Refrain is just a powerhouse on a budget for getting turns with massive amounts of mana. I mean, there's a reason Jessica's Will is so expensive. Shivan Meter is our biggest single target damage and can give us a big turn, but it's very easy telegraph, so be prepared to protect your pieces before this goes off. Insult to Injury, though we mostly play it to double up all damage, it can have fringe uses in the graveyard. And Sundering Stroke deals 7 damage split between 3 targets, but if 7 red mana was spent, it deals 7 damage to each of those creatures. Now this is the kind of red mage math that gets me excited, because in Magical Christmas Land, you have a damage doubler, and they have something that's a 1/1. So 7 damage doubled is 14, -1 is 13, doubled to the face is 26. And being able to do it possibly 3 times is 78 damage. This is just with 1 doubler and 3 different 1/1s. And think about how many 1/1s there are in the format. That's almost double someone's starting life total. Anyway, I'm getting off track. For instance, a Braid, Cathartic Pyre. Dual Strike can be foretold and cast for 1 red before doubling one of our spells. Impact Resonance is one of my absolute favorite cards in the deck. Being able to deal X damage to any number of creatures equal to the greatest amount of damage dealt by a source to a permanent or player.
Oh, that's a lot of damage!
Remember the math from before? Yeah, head spinning yet? Thrill of Possibility, Twin Inferno, Arc Bond can turn our Toralf punch into easily KOing the entire board. Big score. Mind Collapse is great because it has an alternative cost by sacrificing a mountain. Means we can sneak in big hits even when tapped out. Overblaze on either Toralf or Chandra's Incinerator spells trouble for our opponents. Repeated Reverberation lets us get 2 copies of whatever spell we cast next. Unexpected Windfall and Invoke Calamity can give us a final Blazing Punch. As we turn to the artifacts and enchantments, the spice doesn't stop. Artifacts, we have Wayfarer's Bauble, Blazing Sunsteel. No reason not to again keep turning damage to every creature into punishment for our opponents. Fired Diamond, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens, Hazaret's Monument. Magebane Armor is one of the only ways to save Toralf from the inferno of spells we will be slinging around. Worn Power Stone, Hedron Archive, and Pyromancer's Gauntlet. While not doubling, does increase our spell damage by 2. Enchantments. We have Quest for Pure Flame is a damage doubler we can crack when the time is right. Descent into Avernus helps us ramp into bigger things as well as dealing damage to our opponents and letting them hopefully get out more creatures we can deal damage to. Mechanized Warfare, again, it's not a doubler, but for 3 mana increasing all of our damage by 1 is not a bad thing. Valakut Exploration helps us dig but also deals damage along the way. Outpost Siege and Court of Ire just gives us some damage to point wherever we want. And if by some miracle we keep the Monarchy, 7 damage is nothing to laugh at. Rounding it out, we have lands, Myriad Landscape, Ramonette Ruins, and 34 Mountains. At the time of recording, the deck sits around $30 on TCG Player. Not a sponsor yet. But if you like the deck, I do have some spicy upgrades. All Will Be One gives us possibly one of the best upgrades for the deck in Sulfim Mayhem Dominus. Doubling up all non-combat damage can get absolutely atrocious with just a couple creatures on our opponent's board. With Toralf out, we can chain our way up to lethal damage. Seething Song and Mana Geyser just to help out with mana. Speaking of mana, Soul Ring and an Arcane Signet. Furnace of Wrath or Dictate of the Twin Gods will definitely increase that damage. Blasphemous Act and Extinction Event can quickly end games. Bergie God of Storytelling and Jessica's Will. Any way to speed up the clock to get our damage assistance deployed. Well, that's the deck with some upgrades. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.